Jim Phillips. My first guest today, frankly, is seeking some help from the community to keep intact the New Bedford Fire Museum. Larry Roy is the director and president of the Fire Museum, which is located at South 6th and Bedford Streets. And Rick Spoor is a member of the board of directors there and a volunteer at the Fire Museum. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Jim. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
First off, I want to talk about the history of the Fire Museum because it's quite impressive. I don't think people know that the building you're in was constructed 150 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that is is that the oldest firehouse in New Bedford right now?
Oh, yes,
Larry?
yes. That'd be the oldest.
All right.
Yep.
When did the building become a museum? Let's give folks a little history lessons to how that came about and when it happened.
Well, what happened in 1974, a visit from then Mayor John Markey to the museum. He was invited down there because we had hung up some old pictures on the wall, and there was a building next to us that was being used for fire alarm, and was originally the repair shop for the New Bedford Fire Museum in 1880, for the New Bedford Fire Department in 1880. And he went in there and looked around. He says, "I'm looking for bicentennial projects for 1976." He said, "This would make a good museum because I know where a lot of the artifacts are located from a museum that was behind the New Bedford Hotel in 1890, from 1898 until around 1972. It was tore down. And all those artifacts were sent to the Whaling Museum. And he knew where they were, so he said, well, so we get all that stuff together, we can make this building a museum. But we're going to need community development funding. So I went to a lot of the community development hearings with my uniform on, because I was on the fire department at the time.
Right.
And asked for the money. And eventually we were awarded $140,000 to have a contractor come down and renovate the whole building. And
you could do a lot then with $140,000.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And the Swain School of Design was scheduled to set up the decor in the museum, all right, which they did. And the museum eventually was opened in November 1976 as a bicentennial project.
That was a great thing.
It was officially opened to the public in June of 1977, and it's been open ever since.
Who runs the museum? Rick, maybe you can tackle that one. Who runs the operation? It's strictly volunteers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually staffed strictly by volunteers. Actually, excuse me, Larry is the primary director there, who was there Monday through Saturday, 12 to 4. But he is assisted by a team of volunteers. Most of them are New Bedford firefighters, either active or retired, and other volunteers, to assist Larry in the day-to-day operations of the museum.
This building, which was constructed in 1867, now this year 150 years old, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This is not something to be trifled with. This is a piece of New Bedford history. There's no question about that. And now you've got another need. You have another need. But we'll get to that in a moment. Give me some of the artifacts that are in the museum, Larry.
Well, we have the original 1884 steam fire engine, Cornelius Harlan. That was, it's in the same exact spot that it was when it was delivered to the fire station in 1885. And we have a 1934 Aaron's Fox fire engine that was originally from Station 9 in 1935. And we have a 1928 Aaron's Fox that was at Station 4 after the steam engine left. And after the 1928 fire engine left, we have the 1954 fire engine there. Plus,
and besides that, all kinds of smaller artifacts, helmets, equipment, those kinds of things that I think kids sometimes find.
We have a lot of photographs and old equipment, and we have a small sliding pole that the kids can slide down.
Do you have enough room there to display all the stuff you have? Or do you have some in storage?
It's pretty well filled up now, but we still have some space in there. We don't have any space. We don't have any space for any more fire trucks, but we do have space for more photographs and artifacts to put on the walls.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. My guest is Larry Roy of the New Bedford Fire Museum and Rick Spoor, who's a volunteer and a member of the board of directors at the museum. It's located at 6th and Bedford Streets in New Bedford. Let's talk about the meeting you had recently and some of the other things you need. What's your most pressing need right now? Rick?
Well, yeah, I'll take that one, Jim. I think, the pressing need right now is we do have some water infiltration in the roof line on the west side. We have some windows that are in need of repair, and we also have some gutters and some other structural work that needs to be repaired or replaced.
And you had a meeting recently, I think we mentioned a couple of times here, to talk about those needs. Are you happy with the results? At the very least, you made city fathers aware of some of these problems. Right. They may not be aware. I don't know. Maybe you may not be aware. But are you happy with the results?
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Jim. The recent meeting that we had, we were invited by Buddy Andrade, who's in that neighborhood. He's been a proud supporter of the museum in that neighborhood for many, many years. So he invited ourselves and some of the city officials, including the city council. And we had Councilor Brian Gomes and Councilor Joe Lopes in attendance with a representative from Councilor Ribeiro. And also Councilor Morad also called in. She was on vacation, couldn't attend, but we're trying to keep her up to speed and the rest of the councilors on what's going on. The purpose of the meeting, was to bring to light some of the structural issues that are there. The city yard, Mr. Blanchard, who runs the city the buildings, is aware of the situation there. He has sent an assessment team down there to take a look at the situation. He is aware of it. He's been working with us. He is a supporter of us. But he's also on a limited budget. So he's still in the assessment phase to find out exactly how much water infiltration, where it's coming from, and when that assessment is completed, I think we'll have a clearer picture of what the budgetary needs are going to be as far as getting a monetary value on how much money we need to do the repairs.
Can this be repaired piecemeal, or is it a major project that has to be done at once?
I'm going to leave that up to to the experts. We have some roofing experts, and we're going to need some masonry, and I think we'll leave that decision up to them. We hope that can be the case. The thing that we want to make as crystal clear as we can, Jim, and Larry agrees with us, and so do most of the people that volunteer there. This is a preservation of history. This is not. We're not. Looking for aesthetics. Painting the building. We have water infiltration in areas of that museum that hold one-of-a-kind artifacts, one-of-a-kind history logs, one-of-a-kind pieces of equipment that need protection.
You got buckets on the floor? Is it that bad yet?
Well, we did have some water infiltration, and yes, we did have water on the floor, and We did have, some issues there that the volunteers did take care of, and like I said, during a recent meeting, we tried to make those needs clear. We did go before the City Council. We're trying to ferret out monies through either the capital improvement program, the community development program, the Community Preservation Act. So we're trying to get after it. We're trying to seek monies to get this work done.
Any other needs that maybe less important but still are needs in that building? Anything else?
Well, I think there are other needs in that building. One of them, one of the major exit. We try to poll people on the exits, and one of the concerns that we have is air conditioning. And it's not only for comfort of the visitors. We need it for the climate control or the preservation of some of these documents that Larry has gotten over the years, including whaling books, log books, chief's reports, and stuff like that. Some of this stuff actually needs climate control, so we're seeking that as well.
This is the oldest firehouse in New Bedford. It's an ideal location for a museum, Rick and Larry. But sometimes, do you wish you were more centrally located?
Well, I've been asked that question many times, and the way I feel, to move the museum would be a very bad thing to do, because it's in the spot that everything happened in 150 years ago. The history of the museum is based on the members of the museum. Members of the fire station at that time in 1872, these guys went on to the Great Fire in Boston of 1872 on a flatbed with the steam engine and horses, and fought the fire for about a week, and then returned to New Bedford. They also had 2 or 3 trainloads of onlookers from New Bedford that went up to that fire. And the whole concept of this museum is based on the history, from myself reading the 4 volumes of logbooks from 1867 to 1913 when the volunteers left. And I read all those books, and I was inspired to move on. And I've been there 45 years.
Yeah, you've been there,
and
from the time it was a museum.
Right.
Larry and Rick, have neighbors ever complained about the location, any disruption in the neighborhood? That is a very tightly packed neighborhood, residential neighborhood, and built around the fire station, basically. What's been the relationship with neighbors?
Well, we've had a very good relation. Like I said, I've been there 45 years, and I know the neighbors very good, and we have neighbors across the street that keep an eye on the museum, and if there's any problem or a door is left open, they call me right away.
Yeah.
They call the police. And
neighborhood security system.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. They put up quite a bit of our clanging and banging and ringing and sirens and whatnot, and she's been wonderful. I don't want to mention her name personally because we haven't spoken with her in a couple of days, before that. But I think the neighborhood's been most of the firehouses in the city are like that. They're embedded into the communities, into those areas. But we've never had any major complaints from any of the neighbors there.
All right.
Quite the contrary, actually.
Sure. So you're waiting on the results of the study that the city is doing.
Yes. Yep. That's
to
correct.
Determine
That's correct.
Just how big a project this will be.
That's correct.
Well, gentlemen, I wish you the best of luck with it. I think it would be a shame, Larry. I agree with you. It'd be a shame if this building couldn't be repaired or in any way the museum was hampered because the building was not fixed. It has to be fixed. Plain and simple, it has to be fixed. It is a piece of New Bedford history, and I wish you well with the efforts to upgrade and repair the museum. Larry, I know this is the love of your life, really, and I really do wish you well on the project.
Well, thank you very much, Jim.
All right. And Rick, thank you for coming in. Larry, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. And if you keep us updated on this project, it'll be good.
Will do. Thanks for having us.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Townsquare Sunday will return in just a moment. Stay with us.